Hi there, it's time to look at Bitcoin through the Wyckoff lens again. If you're new to my session, here are the 3 key items I covered during the sessions. So let's start with the weekly chart of Bitcoin. We have talked about this before, like for a couple of weeks, that Bitcoin is going through a boring period. So we are 5 weeks in, and this week we still have roughly 30 hours left. So why I say 9 weeks if you're new, right? So this refers to the 2021-22 distribution cycle. So after Bitcoin came down from the upthrust, after the first last point of supply, it dropped into a horizontal or sideways trading zone. So counting from the very beginning of the sideways trading, this red candle, all the way till the one that right before the second LPSY, okay? That's about 9 to 10 weeks. We are about halfway in, okay? We are only 5 weeks. So if it is going to play out similarly, okay, like after the first LPSY, and then we've got this sideways trading period, and eventually there may be another spike, okay, before it comes down to challenge the lower support levels. Currently, 91K is still the one that's driving the open and close of the candles. You look at the previous 3 weeks, all closed below that key level. They did challenge a higher level at around 94 or mid 94K. That's where the very first drop came in, that candle open or the previous candle close. 81K is still kind of like the intermediate support, although like the price didn't really close that low. Okay, it's basically staying somewhere around this level, even like if it's testing the low, somewhere around these bunch of candlesticks, like what happened back in March. All right, so that's the current picture. And going forward, we already talked about there may be a spike coming, maybe after December. That may take place earlier than last time. Like last time it lasted for 9 weeks, somewhere in the beginning of 2022. So it dropped during December, the first leg, November, December, and then took another dive into the new year in 2022. Then that's where the sideways trading happens before it climbed to the last point of supply in March, and then eventually it dropped all the way to the accumulation. So this time, if it does something similar, then by the end of first quarter or somewhere around first quarter, we may see a spike, challenging the 104K again. And then if it follows the same path, it will eventually come back down to an accumulation cycle. Not necessarily diving this deep back to 16,000. All right, that was that particular period in 2023. It can, but it's not a must, okay? So this white box tracks the long-term trading area of Bitcoin, and it's likely ascending because of inflation or adoption, whatever reason you want to give it, ETFs, institution buy-in. That's indicating Bitcoin's base price is going to climb over time. Much like gold, or like if you look at the indexes of stock markets, that's basically something similar. All right, so just to add to that point, when you look at this, if I turn this off, this path, this kind of trajectory, isn't something that's going to last forever, all right? It has to go through a more gradual trend over time. There may be spikes because of whatever narrative that's been sold to the market, but the long-term trend wouldn't be something that crazy like the green box. All right. So that's the big picture. Now let's get to the daily and see whether there are any indicative timing. So here we are seeing the price, trading sideways, upward for a short period of time, about 2 to 3 weeks. Last week I already talked about if it stays above this upward trend line, all right, there's a chance that it breaks out by 3 days ago, December 17th. But on this 15th, it already confirmed that it's going to drop lower, breaking this support line. So we can take out this line and just focus on what's going on right now. Currently, it's trying to break outside of the downtrend. So if you're new to my sessions, I usually call these light blue boxes air hockey table. So basically, if you look at the price, it's bouncing off between 3 lines, the 2 edges and the center line. And when I say center line, it doesn't mean it cuts the box exactly 50-50%. Landing on an area where we find the most candle head and tails, lying within the box itself. So currently, over the past 10 to 12 days, Bitcoin has been trading along the ceiling of this air hockey table, and it's getting to a point where we would eventually find a breakout opportunity, after the one that we discussed just now during the uptrend earlier. So this one points to somewhere around Boxing Day. Okay, it can happen a day or two, a couple of days sooner. The key is it has entered this triangle already and it's counting down. So what's going to happen is that by Christmas, Boxing Day time, either it confirms that it's going to continue with this sideways trend, meaning finishing this downtrend, okay? Or the other option is that it confirms that this downtrend is going to continue for a while before it breaks outside, all right? So there's a chance that it comes down only to find stronger support to rebound at around this mid 70,000 level. Okay, you see 2 lines over there, the white line and the light blue line. Those two are, the white is the ceiling of the long-term playground zone that I explained just now in the weekly chart. All right, this long-term playground zone. All right, that's the white line. And then we have the light blue key level of 74K. So that's the top of the trading range back in the reaccumulation period before it climbs to the buying climax. That was the period during March all the way to October 2024. Okay, I select the very top, 74K. If you like, you can pull it down even further to about 71K. There we have more candlesticks over there. But I was referring to these 2 peaks covering the top, the beginning and the end of that reaccumulation period. So somewhere at the lower 70K, let's make it simple. All right, that's if this downtrend continues, by Christmas time, it doesn't confirm it's going to break out. That's where it's heading to. And of course, there's another opportunity by the beginning of 2026 over here, the 1st of Jan, or by New Year's Eve. So here, if we look across to the left, that's where this particular period happened along this yellow line. All right, that's why besides this light blue intermediate level, there's another one over here before it all the way goes all the way challenging those dual support level at around 71 to 75K. So this is going to be key the coming week, all the way till the end of the year. But I already said, it's Christmas and it's near the end of the year. Probably there won't be much of a big move. Everybody wants peaceful Christmas, right? So that's pretty much it for Bitcoin. And yeah, it's boring. I have talked about this for a couple of weeks, but within this boring period, people are still making money, right? From the mid 80K to the mid 90K. That's not a bad return if you have been trading this sideways zone. So thanks for joining. See you in other sessions.